Hey everyone, and welcome back to Country Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. If you haven't already, please be sure to check out our website, countrymusicmademe.com. There you can listen to all of our episodes and also sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive content like an acoustic performance from today's guest, Jason Nix. Just head over to countrymusicmademe.com and hit that subscribe button. You can also find us on any streaming platform, so if streaming is your thing, just head over to your favorite, search Country Music Made Me, and give us a follow and maybe even leave us a review while you're there. On today's episode, we are excited to welcome Jason Nix. Now, Jason was born in Nashville as his dad was chasing a career in music. At the age of 5, his family moved to South Mississippi, where he grew up. Now, as soon as he was able, Jason took off to Nashville to follow in his dad's footsteps and chase a career in country music. He attended Belmont University, and after graduation, he had a few stages within his career. He played in a cover band along Lower Broadway. He played as a guitarist for other artists, and then he moved into songwriting. In 2020, after many years of waiting and wanting, he finally released his own original music. Earlier this year, he released his new single, Marijuana, which he hopes will turn into a bit of an expansive concept album in the future. So please enjoy our conversation with Jason Nix. People might know your new music, but your journey goes far beyond that. And going all the way back, I mean, you're from Nashville originally, sort of. You were born in Nashville, but then moved to South Mississippi when you were, I think, 5. So what did your parents do that they were in Nashville and then moved away?
My mom was a tax auditor, and so she worked for the IRS for years and years and years. And but you know, she was able to move with that. My dad was a musician, so he played bluegrass up here, and there's not a lot of money in it, you know, or there wasn't at that point for him. And so I think I was part of the reason they had to move. And both their parents were in Mississippi, and so that was a good move, man. It was. I'm proud to have grown up there the way that I did. I did get back to Nashville as fast as I could,
Right.
because I watched my dad struggle growing up with just like, you know, I imagine he feels the same way about music as I do, that like it's something like you're born to do. It's almost like an illness, you know, a disease. I do compare it to that a lot, you know, because it's like, for something to be so strong that people would do it regardless of what kind of situation it puts them in, like it's got to be pretty crazy. So I think that's what happened. I'm not, you know, my dad and mom moved to be closer to family after they had me. I think money was an issue. I don't know. I can't confirm that, but
Right.
But they did move, and it was great to be in Mississippi, to grow up there. I am glad to be back up here, you know, up here being like the Nashville area. I don't even live in Nashville anymore. I also can't afford it. So
Okay.
I moved. Yeah, I moved out too, man. We moved a few years ago, like a little more than an hour and a half outside of town. And I'm right now looking at my neighbor's cows got out last night and just destroyed my front yard.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm looking at that through the window. So it's like there's pros and cons. You know, you either have to deal with people or cows. I prefer the cows. So
Right. Yeah.
if and it was a huge storm, so it's like there's mud everywhere. There's like, you know, there's prints all over the windows where they put their noses. If that's the worst I have to deal with, then I'm okay, man. I can handle that.
That's hilarious. And so when your dad was in Nashville, was he trying to make a go of it as a musician within the city?
They were, man. They were. I mean, my dad is incredibly talented, and it's not like riding a bicycle. You know, if you don't use it, you lose it. But
Right.
back then, I remember being like enamored. Like I would just go with him to band practice anytime he would let me as a kid. And I obviously couldn't go to the shows and stuff, but yeah, he was making a go at it for sure, you know. Now he also grew up in Mississippi, so it's for him to like come back, I think probably hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was making strides up here, and I was too young to see that then. But after probably around like the age of 10 or something, I remember like seeing videos and being like, yeah, like my 10-year-old self would have never said damn. But imagine like he was doing it, like he actually like he gave some stuff up to leave and go back, so yeah, that in itself is an inspiration for me to keep going. I'm not, I'm no like young buck anymore. So it's at this point, it's getting tough. It's getting harder. I've got a kid of my own now, and I can totally see why, he chose to do that, because it's not easy, and it's not as fun as it used to be in my early 20s. It's like hard. It's hard, man. I used to jump on the opportunity to hop in a 15 passenger bus and drive, play a gig and drive 14 hours through the night, set up and play another one. Now it's like, can I, will they arrest me if I sleep in this Walmart parking lot? It's like,
Right.
I need somewhere to like, lay down for a little bit. So times change, but yeah.
And so along this journey, I mean, I saw a photo that you put on Instagram of you sitting on your front steps, I believe, with your dad. You were, I don't know, maybe three, four, and you were playing the harmonica and he was playing the guitar. And it was written on the back that he was determined that you would be a musician one day. And so within his journey, I mean, the fact that he sort of had to give up his dreams in Nashville, whatever his dreams were, did he ever have a cynical approach to you wanting to chase a career in music, or was he always very supportive of that, even though he didn't necessarily see the good side of the career?
No, I never remember him or my mom being cynical. And I think if anybody had a reason to be cynical, it'd be my mom. But they were both very supportive in completely different ways. But mostly, I mean, they both knew the reality of what was coming down the pipe. I mean, when you started saying that, like about what was written on the back of that picture, because I know what picture you're talking about, the first thought that comes into my mind now is, why would anyone wish that on their kids? but I think they knew if that happened, like how hard it would be, but they never told me no, like that you should. Well, they told me no plenty of times. That's the wrong way to put it. They never told me you should do something else. You should do this. You should do that. They never said that. So they were 100% supportive, and they helped me move back up here like right after I graduated high school, financially and literally. I sold a car to move up here. I sold my car to move up here, and they drove me and all my stuff. So yeah, they've been a huge help. They still are. I mean, as a grown man, they let me move in with them while I'm trying to finish building this house. So it's like, it's nonstop, man. They were then and are still now really great.
Wow. And you mentioned selling your car. I know cars are a big thing for you as well. And I wanted to ask about, I think it's your great papa's 54 Bel Air that I think is still in the family, and just sort of what that means and what cars have meant for you along this journey, especially ones that have stayed within the family.
Well, that car's like a quarter mile up the hill right now.
Oh, wow.
And they baby that one. I to be honest with you, I hated them growing up because my dad did it. And it's not that I hated my dad. It's just that he wanted me to be a part of those things with him. And then every time I would go to help him, I'm sure a lot of young guys feel the same way. He would scream at me for not knowing what tool he was asking for, or holding a flashlight in the wrong place. And at a certain point I was like, screw this. I don't want anything to do with cars. So I got divorced, and I was like, well, I'm not spending my money on expensive shoes anymore or school. So I should buy something that I can dump all my money into. Right. And it turns out a car is a great way to do it. if you just have a surplus of money or not, because I'd never have and will likely never will. If you need something to spend money on, a car is a great way to do it. So, but I did that. And again, my dad was there and helped me build that one, and then bought a truck. And then it sounds stupid. And I've heard my friend Jonathan Singleton say this, but it begins to make more and more sense. But it was literally just something to do, like to take my mind off of everything else that was happening.
Right.
And I don't think he means it in that way, but it applies in that situation for me. But it turned out great. I met some of my best friends in the world because of cars. And I joke around a lot, but I was like, if you want to find good people in the world, just pull into the back of like a business parking lot and pop your hood, and then you'll find out where the good ones are. They'll come to you. I think that's like the way to know like who's going to be there ready to help when you need it. But it's not just for me, it's like not just the cars, it's the people around them. And I don't know. I've met some really great men, honestly. Some of the best dudes in my life are because of my car. So it's just good. It's good. And I love to drive. So there's nothing, I can't say anything bad about it, except that it breaks down on me all the time, but that's okay. It's the story of my life.
And as far as music goes, I saw you mention that driving with your dad when you were younger, you had to pick a harmony when you were singing along to the radio. He wouldn't let you sing the melody. And so
never let me sing the melody.
Within that experience, I mean, were you pushed? Like, did you enjoy singing all the way along? Or was it like with cars that you almost resented it because you were maybe being pushed a little harder than most kids are with music?
No, I didn't resent it at all. For me, that was, I don't know, man. I like, there are things that like come to certain people really naturally. And there's a ton of those things that don't come naturally to me, like anything athletic. Like I played baseball up through high school, and you can ask any of those guys that were on that team with me how athletic I am. That's not one of the things that like comes naturally to me. I have to work very hard. You don't want to see me skateboard. That's it. And I don't want to see me skateboard. I would be like in a full body cast by the time it's over with. So like, but the thing that does come naturally to me is like hearing those parts. But at that age, you're just like developing your ear, and that I think was more helpful than anything. But he made it fun too, because he'd be like, okay, sing the high harmony or sing the low harmony. And to this day, I still struggle more with finding the low harmony, because I just remember listening to Vince Gill do his harmonies over passes and stuff like that, and I would try to mimic his parts, and the way he like weaves in and out of those things are incredible. But so I learned a lot from him. And like I remember Diamond Rio. I love Diamond Rio, but the biggest one I think that I got from my dad was Union Station. And to this day, like Alison Krauss and Union Station, those like I don't know, you learn music, you learn chords, like how they're stacked, the movement of music. And especially with as musical as Allison is, and Dan Kaminsky and Ron Block and Jerry Douglas. And God, if they ever hear this and I don't remember the bass player's name, he's probably going to come kill me. But anyway, yeah. So the way that music moves, I think it was harder to hear that. And it still is. If you listen to it today, it's like, damn, it's complicated. But it was fun for me. It was a challenge in a good way, as opposed to the cars, because in South Mississippi, it's like so humid. You feel like you're swimming through the air, and it's like 100 degrees in the summer. There's not a bone in my body now, especially, that like wants to be out doing that in this heat. And that's always when it was. He always picked that time to do it. He's like, well, we got to fix them. So no, there's, to answer your question in long form, I never resented the music part of it ever.
And so from day one, was Nashville always the dream? Like, was there an age or a point where you sort of developed that dream, or for as long as you can remember, has it always just been there?
No, it was always, well, at the beginning, it was always Nashville because I was born there. And then closer to high school graduation, it was Nashville, and I went to school there. And then I started to really think about moving out to Texas because I saw I'd made some friends from Texas and learned about the music coming out of Texas, and I don't know. I always considered that too. Like even if it was, I think at the time it was specifically Austin, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, it was always Nashville.
And you went to school in Nashville, did you?
I did. I listened to an interview that you did with Ryan Griffin.
Yeah.
I did. I went to school at Belmont. I played for Ryan for a while.
Oh, okay.
That was my gig man. And so the one thing that my dad gave me with making me sing harmonies was essentially gave me a great opportunity to be a sideman. And I made a decent living at that for years, like for 9 years. And so I played guitar and piano for different artists. Ryan was one of them. I met Canaan Smith there, and I played with him on the Sugarland tour there. And I was, freshman year, I was down the hall from Tyler Hubbard, Florida Georgia Line. Me and him were buddies. And then Ryan Hurd was on the same floor, same hall, down the other side. It's like, it was a crazy, I think a lot of people have stories that went to school there, especially around Nashville, because it is such a tiny town. But it was crazy that we all were in that building that same year on the same floor. And to see what those guys have done has been awesome too, obviously,
So when you left Belmont, did you have a goal? Did you have something you were working towards, or had you already sort of got into the sort of side man stage and you kind of just flowed into that after graduation?
There was a lot of floating, but I got married the day after graduation. So I was not worried about anything except that girl. And I would have, I say that, but it quickly turned into like, oh, I need to make money. And so, yeah. And then it really, I was doing any pretty much sideman gig I could find. I was also working at a dog daycare right on cue.
Yeah, exactly.
At a dog daycare in downtown, and where I would sit and just be like me in a room full of 50 huge dogs, and had a great time until I got bit, and then I was like, okay, I'm out of here. If that was my hand, then I'd have been screwed.
Right? So,
yeah. But I did a lot, and then that didn't last very long. The marriage, not the dog daycare. The dog daycare lasted longer than the marriage.
Oh wow!
Which but yeah, it's right after that. Right after the divorce is when I was like, okay, I bought the car, and then I really started hitting it. It just lined up perfectly that I met Canaan shortly after that. I was playing at the Hard Rock for a mutual friend of ours, Matt. And Canaan just happened to be there, and he said, oh, hey, I'm going on radio tour. Would you come play guitar for me? And I said, yeah, when do you need me? I was like, anything I can do to get out of town, please, / pay my rent. And so, yeah, and that was crazy. And then we hopped on. He had just signed with Mercury, which is Universal, or it was Universal Records at the time. And they put us on a tour bus, and then that was my first like major gig as a sideman. It was in 2012, right after. I remember the first show that we did was the show after that big accident with Sugarland, where the stage had collapsed. It was awful, and we wound up coming into that show after, and everybody was obviously still like, it was super quiet and very strange. But we came back for the tour after, and Jennifer and Christian were really great. And I had so many great opportunities and experiences, and so many really stupid, fun memories with Canaan. It's so much. I ran across some videos yesterday that probably shouldn't be shared with the public, but I laughed my ass off because I'm thinking, that was a very long time ago at this point. Like I joke and say, well, it was like 50 pounds ago. But it was like the stuff that we would get into, I'm thinking they're like 12-year-old boys. It's like, it's a wonder we didn't get arrested for just being stupid, not necessarily doing anything illegal. But yeah, it took a really bad time in my life and turned it into one of the most memorable times of my life. I had so much fun.
Right. And now I think I saw that you also played in a cover band on Lower Broadway for a period of time. Now talk about what that experience is like, because a lot of people who are chasing a dream in Nashville, that's as far as they're going to get. So what is that experience like of playing there and doing that night after night?
My experience is that I think it's less about getting stuck there. It's a choice people make, because would you give up? This is the thing that I had to struggle, because I had to give up. I made better money on Broadway, where I could be home every night, sleep in my own bed, go play music, and make a good living. I made better money doing that than actually being on the road playing my own music, especially now. I make a lot better money now.
Right.
But, these days you can make a killing because Nashville's such a hot spot at the moment. So,
wow.
And I know people who make really great money. It's like stripper money. It's what it is. It's like essentially you're a stripper. But my view on Broadway is that it's a black hole because of how easy it is. It's not easy to get into, but once you get into it and you get a rhythm, it's hard to leave because it is so convenient.
Right. Yeah.
And so you do have to give up the convenience of it if you want to move forward. I think everybody's version of moving. I wasn't happy with Broadway, but I did it for a lot of years. And even when I was on the road, if we had a weekend off or during the week, I would play Wednesday, Thursdays. And if I was in town, I'd play Fridays. And my brother has spent years doing it. It's a job. Music itself is a job. Everybody has a job. There are parts about it that you love and parts about it that you hate. I grew to hate Broadway. And I still really don't like going down there, to be honest with you. It's like CMA Fest is coming up, and had we not booked shows out west, I got asked to fill in on a spot down there, and I was like, oh, I do not want to go to Broadway anywhere near it. I don't want to do it. But what it did, the good thing about Broadway was it gave me. I only did one set a night, so 4 hours. No breaks. It built my chops as a musician,
I bet.
And also gave me carpal tunnel. So I don't, you just have to weigh it out, man. To this day, if I start playing, I should probably go see about getting surgery. I just can't feel my fingers. Who knows what's going to happen down there? Yeah. But it's fine. It comes and goes.
Right.
But yeah, lots of good things about Broadway. Actually, there's a few good things about Broadway, and a lot of reasons that I would prefer not to do it. But I do think that if somebody's moving to Nashville and is a musician, I think it's a great way to meet a lot of other musicians, because now that I'm booking my own full band shows, who I'm calling? It's the guys that I struggled with on Broadway for years. I'm calling those guys. My buddy Josh Mallard is playing drums for me now, and I was like, man, well, do if the other guys that I know are staying at home working in studios and being dads and family men and don't want to be on the road,
right?
The guys that I wind up getting, the really crazy talented ones, are guys that I played with on Broadway. So there's more good than I even see at this moment. But yeah, it's a tough place, man. Great place to cut your teeth, but you can lose your soul really easily down there.
Right. Yeah. So let's sort of talk about the next stage of your career. And in around 2016, you signed a publishing deal. Now, did you sort of step away from the gig playing and move more into full-time songwriting? Or at that point, were you doing both?
At the beginning, I was doing both, but I was easing my way out of playing Broadway, because I knew that what needed to happen the reason I moved to Nashville was to be an artist, and I can't be an artist in my mind. I couldn't be an artist and play other artists' songs, and so I needed to ease my way out of that. My manager at the time, my buddy Jared, was like, we should go have some publishing meetings, because I mean that's typically how it works. If someone wants to be an artist, they will usually in Nashville go meet with publishers, because everybody wants a piece of anything that you make. And
Right. Yeah.
publishers will usually be like, hey, this guy's either good or not good, whatever. But if it's really good, that usually opens more doors within like a label. And yeah, I think Jared and I took like over, I think 32 meetings, if I remember, if that's the right number. Took
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of meetings in town, and wasn't sure, because I hadn't spent a lot of time songwriting before then. I wrote by myself a little, and so I only had maybe like 30 songs to bring in to these meetings. Not great songs. And Josh Van Valkenburg at Sony was at the time, and still is, I think. But he called back for a second meeting and was like, hey, I think there's something here. And I'm so thankful for that dude, man. But before then, I'd met a man named Jody Williams who was working at BMI, and at the time I had that meeting, I was working in a warehouse in town and still playing Broadway. So I would play Broadway. We would finish at 2:30. I would drive my Honda Odyssey. I would load my stuff up in the Odyssey, and then drive across town to the warehouse. I would sleep in the warehouse, or I'd sleep in the van and then open the warehouse. By the time I got there, it'd be 4:00, and I would open the warehouse at 9 and then work, and then go back and play Broadway.
Right.
And that's not like a unique story. I think that happens for a lot of people in town. That's
Yeah.
part of the disease that I mentioned earlier. It's like, it's crazy if something has like, if you want to do something that much, that you will do that kind of thing for it. But I did that for a while, and until I met Jody Williams, who was at BMI at the time. Jody gave me an advance he gave me enough money, and I had 3 cuts with Eli Young Band at the time when I wasn't signed as a writer, because that wasn't my goal to be a writer.
Right.
But he
Yeah.
gave me an advance in order to like cut back to where I didn't have to work to do as much, so I could write more and possibly get a publishing deal. And Jody giving me that advance, me writing more, led to me, meeting Josh from Valkenburg at Sony. It was ATV at the time. And then Josh gave me my first publishing deal. And I'm so thankful. I had, I think, $47, and I forget the amount of change left in my bank account the day that Josh signed me.
Wow.
And yeah, it was, man, just like by the skin of my teeth is usually like how it happens in the story of my life. But yeah, it worked out great, man. But the writing thing was a total accident. And I fell in love with, I loved it before I had the writing deal. After, it was a roller coaster ride. There were times that I hated it, but I mean, I love it so much that like, I think that's what happens when you love something so much. Sometimes you hate it too. So,
well, yeah, I was going to ask, like you mentioned, you had no money then. And off the start of the conversation, you kind of mentioned that you're never going to be in a position necessarily where you're going to have an abundance of money. So while chasing this career, I mean, in 2018, when you jump into being an artist for yourself, finally, I mean, how much anxiety is tied with that because of the fact that you have to do this because you love it? There's no other reason. There is no other reason to do this other than loving it. And so how crazy is that, especially at an older age when you've already done so much in Nashville? Like, how crazy was it to jump in as your own artist?
I think it's crazier that I've never seen any other path. I think that's why there's nothing else for me to do. Like, this is it, the stuff that I've daydreamed about since I was a kid. And my dad always says, he always told me, it's like, it's either going to be feast or famine. And that has been true, very true in my life. And, there are really good times. And I've learned too, you just got to save. When the times are good, save, because it'll be a little tight again, just wait till about November to March, early March. That's just like what you're saving for. I mean, the times they are changing, and things are definitely better than they used to be, believe me. But it always feels like, and maybe that's true with everybody, man. It always feels like, it's like, man, we're just like barely getting by. I mean, these days it seems a little strange here in the States, especially. But yeah. So I don't know, but there was never any other options. I tell people all the time, this is awful, but I tell people plan Bs are made for one night stands. That's it. There was never a plan B.
And so as you've jumped into this, how do you deal sort of with the mental side of the industry? Like, I was talking with an artist the other day, and she mentioned that she had just released her album and it was amazing. Like the feeling leading up, you're busy, you're doing all this, you're putting out an album, but then the album dropped and there was sort of a low associated with it because everything sort of stops. And now you're just waiting for people to listen to the music and you don't really have anything to do. And within this career, I mean, that's what it is, right? Hurry up, put out music, hurry up, get to a show and play. But there's a lot of time when you're alone with your thoughts and thinking about, what should I be doing or where should I be going? So how do you deal with those times?
Do something. I don't look at the numbers, and I'm not saying this is the way to do it, because I think there's a lot wrong with the way that I do things, probably, but I don't have a problem with it. So I'm going to keep doing it until it, prison room. Like, we put out music. I don't look at the numbers because I've got other things to worry about. I've got songs to write. I've got demos to record. I need to start working on acoustic versions of these songs. I need to mix those. I need to master those. At the time, I've got a house to finish. I've got a 1-year-old son to take care of. Like, I don't have time to think about, oh, I hope this does okay. The thing that I do have to worry about is, am I busting my ass to make sure my family's provided for? Because if the music fails and I worked as hard as I could, then that's okay with me, because there's so much music that I can't listen to because I hate. And if people hate my music, that's also okay. Like, that's the beautiful thing about like music. You don't have to like it, So if they hate it, that's fine. But I love it, and it makes me think that there are other people that will also love it. But as far as that goes, man, if I am driving, I will actually tomorrow, I will have like 17 or 18 hours along with my thoughts. And maybe then I can give you a better answer, but I haven't. This past year, I haven't been able to think. I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, what's next? Because if I slow down, I think I'm afraid if I slow down, then I will blame any shortcoming on myself for doing that. I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can. Also, probably there might be some truth in, I keep myself busy to not worry about that stuff.
Yeah,
honestly, because I am worried that you have to be. I mean, you invest so much time and money into these things. You really do want I do want this stuff. I want people to love it. I know they don't have to. I want people to. So that's the truth. You're getting the Jekyll and the Hyde, man, today.
Yeah.
So I think the reason me staying busy is so I don't spend as much time worried about things I can't control. That's it.
Right.
Because like once it's out, like I can say that I did everything I could and the best job that I could to get this music out. And then my job on that's done. Now what's next? I can't worry about that because I did everything I could for that. And I did it well. I know I did it well. So I do want people to love it. Yeah. But it seems like a waste of time for, to not do anything and only worry about that. So I try to keep moving, but it is tough. It is tough.
And now you released your debut music in 2020, and you just released your new single, Marijuana, and this is going to lead to a bit of a concept album. So talk about going into writing this song and sort of where you were at as an artist after coming off of your debut music and where you thought you might be headed, and then how this song kind of helped take you in a direction that maybe you didn't see coming?
This, when I wrote this song, there was no direction. This entire concept record, eventually it will turn into that. We're just putting out very small pieces at a time. I don't know much about Star Wars, but I joke and tell people it's kind of like Star Wars. You just get like little vignettes all over the place, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
they come together. They're all written, they're just not all recorded yet. So it's Marijuana was the first of these songs. I wasn't Full Circle Moment. Jody Williams, who advanced me enough money to be able to start writing music, opened up his publishing company again, and now I get to write songs at his company with
Awesome.
his son Driver and Ashley McBride and Vince Gill and Peyton Porter, who's another great artist, and Greg Bates, who I also met at Belmont, who's also another great artist. And so and Harper O'Neill, I think, is there now. Anyway, incredibly talented people. A full circle moment. But I wrote Marijuana with Driver, and I really wanted to I just was in one of those moods where I was like, I don't want to write anything like heavy. I don't want to think too hard about it. I have this title, Marijuana, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe we can like do part of it, and then see if Eric Church wants to finish it, because Driver plays guitar for Eric.
Right. Yeah.
And but we got on a roll, and it was so much fun that I was like, well, we got to finish this. We got to finish this thing. And I started doing the demo. Like I have a little setup. I mentioned that my parents are kind enough to let like us live with them while the house is being finished. My studio stuff is set up there. I start working on the demo, and it was so much fun. I was like, man, I love this. I think I love this song. And so I keep writing songs, and I'm turning them into Jody Williams, which is Driver's dad. It's such a crazy little small circle how everything has like come together for me.
Right. Yeah.
And Jody and Nina, it was Jenkins at the time, but Jody and those are my publishers in Caroline. But Jody and Nina one day said, "Do you realize that like these are all a story? Like, what are you writing about?" And there's an old saying in town, writers just say, "Hey, write what you know," right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, but like, they are all a story. And I think like this entire time I was trying to tell my own story, in a way that I didn't want to tell it, but it was coming out anyway.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so once they kind of pointed out like, hey, this song and this song and this song kind of could go to like, do they go together? Like, what's the deal? I started thinking, and I was like, yeah, and this song and this song. And so there's like 40 of these songs that are the same, that are my story in a lot of ways. And just like vignettes of things that, that did happen. Some are stretched a little bit, and some can mean what you want them to mean. But it's insane, man. It was truly like a happy accident is what it was.
Right. And did I see that Jake Owen put Marijuana on hold before you actually recorded it?
Yeah. You know what? This says a lot about Jody Williams, but in the publishing world, if a publisher has a piece of a song, then they want to pitch that song to artists.
Yeah.
Well, Jody heard this song because I wrote it with his son, Driver, who was not writing for Jody's company at the time, and neither was I. I was at Sony.
Oh, okay.
Jody heard the song and was like, well, somebody needs to cut this. And Jody pitched it. And Jake had it on hold for a while and didn't cut it. And I'm so glad he didn't. I'm so glad he did not, because that means I get to play it anytime I want at my shows and not have to worry about it. So it's fun for me.
And so how many songs do you have planned? Like you mentioned, there's like 40 that go within this sort of storyline, but in the end, what's the album going to look like? Do you know yet?
Nope. No idea. And I love it. I worry about it when I get there. I just know that there's a lot more songs that need to be recorded, and I've got a lot of like the demos are pretty much ready to go. But it's we're thinking about making this first, like we're just going to do like 3 songs that we're going to do like a 3-pack, if you will,
Right.
and then giving you the beginning, somewhere in the middle, and the end. However, I'm like rethinking that. So to be honest with you, I have no idea. I have no idea, but the goal was for you to not need to see one, like you can't watch. What am I trying to say? It's not built to where if you miss an episode, you can't continue on.
Yeah,
You don't have to go back and, you don't need the episode. They're all standalone, like stories are just, songs as they are. You can enjoy them by themselves. But part of the fun for me has been like going back in my catalog and figuring out like, oh yeah, this is part of that story, and like putting it in order, and there's part of me that like at the end of it all wants to like release something with all these songs in chronological order, so people kind of have an idea like where my head was at the time, and kind of can follow the thing down, from start to finish. But
right,
all that is that doesn't mean anything unless people care about the music, and it matters to me, so I want to do that for me. But yeah, so I'm hoping people dig just the the songs as they come. So
that's awesome. And I saw when you released your original music a couple of years ago, you had mentioned that the ball was rolling. It was heavy, but it was rolling. Now, how does that feel along this career? Does it feel almost like you get the ball rolling and then all of a sudden this hill comes and you have to push even harder to get it moving again?
In a lot of ways, I do think it depends on the people that you have helping you push. And I was, at the time we released that, I love the guys at Make Wake, and we were trying to get all this stuff off the ground, and we've, things have changed since then. And so now it's more of it felt a little easier for a while. Like you were starting maybe go downhill, and then, oh, psych, we're going back uphill again. But I think maybe that's just, I think that's just life, man. It's, it's up and down, and sometimes they're easier than others. And these days I'm less concerned about how hard the difficulty is not as all consuming as it was at one point in my life. Like I feel like, okay, it's tough. So what, dig in, like dig your heels in. Let's go. We're just going, it's time to push. Like, that's it. So it'll come and go. I love the people I'm working with. The guys at CAA, and they've been really working hard for me too now. So it's fun to get back on the road and to be able to play these things for like real people. That's the crazy part, is like during the pandemic, we were trying to do these shows over over Zoom or over like Facebook Lives or things like that. And it was so strange, man. It was so strange for me. I'm not good at social media anyway. It makes me feel so uncomfortable and awkward to be like, hey guys, what's up? How's everybody doing? Okay. Look, I'm wearing gym shorts with old man tennis shoes, but I have a shirt with buttons on it. So
that's awesome.
It's really strange. I thought I hung up on you on accident, but I'm glad I didn't.
No,
anyway,
good.
The whole thing, it feels so, I'm just not good at that. Now my brothers who are younger than me are like better, but it was a real struggle for me, man. So I'm really glad to be actually out again with real people and being like, hey, you worked really hard, spent the money that you earned to be here. Thank you. Now let me play and sing my ass off for you and do what I do. And you just sit back and enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
I prefer that over like singing in front of a screen any day of the week. So
yeah, exactly. And one last thing, just within this journey that we've talked about of where you started and singing with your dad in the truck, and this up and down journey that has taken you in so many directions, sort of as you look back on that journey, what are your thoughts and your feelings about where you are today?
Oh man, I'm so I'm so grateful for all of it. Even, well, especially the times that I thought were it's like, man, I really think we don't have a clue about what's going on. And we're not smart enough to like, to really know the purpose of anything. And there are times in my life that I've been like, this is awful. Like, why God, you know?
Yeah.
And then it, it turns into like the most beautiful thing. And so I don't know, I've kind of learned in a lot of ways, like, hey, it feels hard right now. Things feel tough. It's okay. You know, everything is going to be okay. But I'm so thankful for all of it, man. And I'm glad that it's taught me and continuing to teach me that lesson. I haven't like learned that lesson fully, which is scary, but yeah, man, I all of it, it worked out, and it is working out exactly as it was planned for me, I believe. And you know, I don't really have any control. I'm just really trying to enjoy the ride.
Thank you once again so much for listening, and thank you to Jason for stopping by and sharing his story. Be sure to check out his new single, Marijuana, wherever you stream your music. Please also be sure to check out our website, countrymusicmademe.com. There you can listen to all of our episodes and also sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive content like a very special acoustic performance from Jason. Just head over to countrymusicmademe.com and hit that subscribe button. You can also find us on any streaming platform, so if streaming is your thing, just head over to your favorite, search Country Music Made Me, and give us a follow, and maybe even leave us a review if you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you once again so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Country Music Made Me.